This is Near Enough to Hell, a Ghost of El Paso story, part 7. We had an off week, but now we're back. We're going to lose Wes about like an hour into the game or so we're going to focus on the day phase for a bit. But let's do a current recap of our situation and the state of our hunters. So previously, we had 4 active threats between Ghost Be Gone, the Daisy Man, the Last Ride of Blackheart Vermilion, and the Bounty Hunter. Now, of course, the Bounty Hunter is no longer an issue on the table, given that at the end of the previous session, we saw a scene in which, after a short little flashback to an event in the past, a couple, was it 20 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that? I have it up here. Either way. Where we saw the Reynolds apparently on the run. Edward Reynolds, horse through a shoe, and the attempt to steal a horse, was hanged very swiftly for his crime as Isabella watched on in horror. In the present day, the two of them stood on the outskirts of town as the sun began to rise, and the bounty hunter clawed his way out of the earth, returning from hell, it would seem, or ostensibly, and offered him a job. It would appear that the bounty hunter is now a servant of the masterminds Isabella and Edward Reynolds, much to Chaotic's dismay. So with that said, that means our active threats are now only the Daisy Man, the Ghost Beyond, and the Last Ride of Blackheart Vermilion. We'll go over the questions and current clues again here in a moment, but let's take a look at our hunters. Mother Ruth Calvo, the Lost, currently is most beloved, as always, and pious, so cannot use her vice. The inevitable Graves has Death Touch, the Hangman Knows, and Read All About It due to some experiences with the newspaper. The Marshal Andrew Harrington is marked by the grifter in more ways than one might say, after seducing Dr. Jebediah F. Clarkson and having a heated hookup. The Calamity, Arkansas McGee, is hungover and also marked by the grifter, but in an entirely different and less fun way. Let's take a look at our clues that we have for our active threats. The Daisy Man has 5 available clues on it. I'll remind everyone that that's a complexity 6 question to determine how the Daisy Man, a living person, is using the power of the Wounded Knight to become incorporeal. Ghost Be Gone, there are 8 available clues for that, and I believe the group is gunning for the 3rd question, which is how to convince Dr. Clarkson to work with the committee. So that one might be resolved pretty soon. And the Last Ride of Blackheart Vermilion only has 1 clue, so you can't even attempt that question yet. You need at least 3 more. Great, awesome. So we ended during the dawn phase. We don't have any lingering mask prompts, so we're going to enter the day phase. And with no new threats necessary to introduce, let us begin. I think the town of El Paso is a buzz for more reason than one, because you see, calamity has struck, and not the calamity known as Arkansas McGee, but because during the events of the night, while the marshal was busy doing the dirty with Dr. Clarkson, while Arkansas was busy meandering about crowds by the Ghost Begun, and while the inevitable was far too concerned with a gun pushed up against the back of their head, the first bank of El Paso has been robbed. During the night, without a trace, save for the usual signs of daisies in place, the vault was opened during the early business hours this morning to be completely empty, cleaned out. Everyone is talking about this. And most importantly, or maybe most concerning, maybe for the marshal, if no one else, is that this is the kind of business that is going to bring the feds in. Some people are surely going to be coming from the government to scrutinize the town. That's not obviously going to be an immediate concern, but it's certainly coming up. And with that said, the other thing people are talking about is how the bounty hunter, this revenant that has been spreading so many interesting stories about the presumed identity of the Marshal Andrew Harrington, is no longer staying at the Riverview Hotel, and his whereabouts are currently unknown, though he has been spotted moving around. People are already talking about the shootout that was had in the Riverview Hotel. What could the Marshal be hiding? All that said, pretty standard day otherwise here in El Paso. So as we begin our day phase, with the current slate of things on the Vigilance Committee's board, what would we like to do today, everyone?
I think Graves may need a vulnerable scene.
What? Me with all of my conditions full? Never. Yes, I do. I do with anyone who wants it.
Because I know like Harrington probably in terms of like investigation with like how fucked up it is just going to need the sheer manpower of like trying to like get out in the town, see like because like taking the entire bank vault, that's a lot of stuff, and that cannot just disappear. So like we need all eyes on this, that this needs to be a priority and whatnot. So I think I'm going to go to the newspaper because those people are nosy, and well, since I probably can wheel and deal a little bit in terms of like my own personal issues because like hey, it's like we got things resolved with the bounty hunter. He realized that he was going after someone else, and that's all smooth out there. Handle multiple things at once, be fine. And I think since Graves has the condition, read all about it. That could be a good way to resolve that.
All right, Graves, you down to do a vulnerable with Marshal Harrington?
Absolutely. We can go talk to my friend at the paper.
Indeed. Now, what about Arkansas McGee and Mother Ruth Calvo? Oh, Wes feels the spirit moving through them.
So yeah, I have a standing desk now, so y'all are gonna get a lot more fire and brimstone from Mother Ruth. So I know that we need to be all hands on deck for the Daisy Man and take care of that. So I believe that Mother Ruth Calvo has taken it upon herself to go and visit Arkansas McGee where he lays his head. Because we haven't had a good talk. We haven't had a conversation. And I think we could have a good jawing on the way to where we need to go. And Mother Ruth wants to make sure that that Arkansas gets to where he needs to be and everything like that. She knows how much he likes to wander and everything like that. So yeah.
Would you consider this a charitable act, helping out the down on his luck Arkansas McGee?
Absolutely, making sure he gets to be where he needs to be. Got to make sure he gets nice and washed and everything like that.
Helping the old man cross the street, absolutely.
Absolutely. Though I'm pretty sure that
you are the same age.
Mother Ruth is older because haven't we figured out that Arkansas is like 23 or something? He just looks like it on.
How old is Arkansas, by the way?
I think he was born in 1820, so he's on up there.
Yeah. Okay. So he's 6. Yeah, around the same age of Ruth.
Where did you get he's 20 from?
I just like to imagine, as a former addict myself, I like to imagine that most addicts, we just look like we're fucking 60. You shave this beard.
He smokes trail weed.
That's very. That reminds me so much of the movie, not the show, of What We Do in the Shadows with Vlad saying it's
he's
like
16.
He's 16. Of course, in those days, it was very hard to be 16.
Yeah. Exactly. Y'all get it. Y'all know.
Incredible. Awesome.
Well,
I want to begin with that scene. So what we open on the slightly dirty window of Arkansas's room at the back rooms of the brothel, though it is of course not publicly known as a brothel. Light casting dust motes in the little sun shafts as they land on Arkansas's face, and very similar to what we saw before with the Marshal tapping on Arkansas's window when going through his morning patrol back in the first session. we see Mother Ruth coming to check in on Mr. McGee. Obviously, this does not necessarily count as a vulnerable move because Mother Ruth cannot do her vice, and I don't know if anything will be shot. But at least roleplay wise, we have a move being triggered here with Mother Ruth doing a charitable act. So I just like to get a bit of that roleplay to set the scene and kind of just and roll with it.
Yeah, I think we see Arkansas sleeping. How does Arkansas normally sleep? Is it on a bed? Is it on a bunch of like bags? Like, how is it?
Yeah, he's got like a bunk, and he's probably just sprawled out on it with his boots on. And
I think we see that just nice little landscape. Looks almost like an old West painting that you would see on a Louis L'Amour cover or something like that. And then just a splash of water across Arkansas just immediately.
he spits out the water and says, "It's sorry Tuesday? What the what?"
Good morning, Arkansas, you old lush. How you doing today? Good morning, good morning. See Mother Ruth setting down a bucket.
I hope that was water.
Absolutely. Wouldn't be taking no animal, fowl, or any other beast's piss upon ye.
Well, I was gonna call in sick today on account of the deputy getting shot all up.
No, 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 no. No calling in sick for those of the Vigilance Committee. Just remember 1 Peter 5:10, Arkansas, and the God of all grace who called you to his eternal glory in Christ after you suffered a little while.
Well, Mother Calvo, let's get going.
Will restore him, will himself restore you and make you
I don't know
strong,
about
firm,
all
and
that,
steadfast.
but let's see what we can get into on this day.
Absolutely. Makes sense. You need help there, you old sod.
I think I'm all good to go.
Perfect. We'll see if we can run you through a saloon or something, get some victuals in you. You smell like one.
They robbed a bank, I heard. Guess what? I already know the secret. I already know the secret of the Daisy Man. Nobody asked me. I already know the secret. Here's what happens. The way the Wounded Knight works, every 6 years is some of them blood shadows come on down out of the sky and it pulls up. We just got to figure out how this fella is funneling the shadow blood into however he's walking through walls, and then we got the answer. We need a funnel. And that's my ghost stories move. Powered by the shadows of the blood moon. Something like that.
Oh, that's sick.
Shadow
Yeah.
blood from the blood moon.
Shadow Blood. Wow, I think I listened to that album back in college.
I'll put that in there.
Yeah, go ahead and put that in there. I think we will cut away to Santa Fe Street, where a small building just off of it serves as the offices of the El Paso Times. Inside, there are a few writing desks that have been kind of erected bullpen style up front, and all things considered, modest but still serviceable printing press in the back. The smell of iron and ink is very potent here. Let's paint the scene about the El Paso Times office. What do we see on the writing tables that tells you the writers here are desperate for any story, especially those with a supernatural angle?
Currently, the only story is the Daisy Man.
And in fact, there are like wild sort of conjectures about it that are like spreading out into other smaller versions of it. They're like trying to figure out how to split it up into like 6 different stories for the paper.
I like an animal story, like something like cat missing 20 years returns to owner's home. Miraculously returns to owner's home. Something like that.
Missy Green, aged 8, celebrates new birthday today, but upside down. Earlier in the week, Missy Green got to celebrate her 8th birthday when all of a sudden the party and the festivities was befoul of supernatural magic, chairs on the roof, birthday cake all over the walls, and Missy Green herself hanging upside down by her pantaloons. Good thing her father, her strapping young man by the name of Arlo Green, was there to take care of her. Seems like this 8-year-old couldn't keep off the walls with excitement and too much sugar.
Was that everyone? Oh, wow.
That's everybody.
I apparently can't count to 4. Okay, very good. Then we see Marshal Harrington and Graves seated across from Agatha Edwards. You've been weaving her various yarns and talking to her about this affair as she has been listening on intently, asking a few pointed questions, taking notes, a few more of her reporters occasionally listening in from the background. Let's kind of catch the end of that conversation.
So you understand why I'm sort of expanding the sort of scope of the local. I guess we are the local justice department, aren't we? Yeah. Since Dudley got shot last night, the sheriff's office is a little bit low on manpower. So and honestly, I don't think it's good for anyone to bring in the feds because not only for my own personal sake, but the sake for the rest of El Paso, because during the Wounded Night, they're not going to be very happy here.
Now, she turns her attention over to Graves and says, now, Mr. Graves, as a gentleman who was very recently shot himself, have you had a chance to look at Deputy Wainwright's condition? Are you thinking that he will be making a swift recovery as you, or does it seem to be more dire indeed? Has the good Doc Albers provided his opinion on the matter as well?
I'm not sure about the deputy's condition, but if it worsens, I assure you, I will be right there.
She turns her eyes back over to you, Andrew, and she says, Marshal, I hope this visit is not prompted by the recent publications the El Paso Times have been making regarding the various rumors spreading around regarding your past. Now, listen, I myself am impartial in these matters entirely. I simply deliver the stories as they arrive. Now, I would be most disappointed in your, as of until recently, untarnished tenure as our fair town's marshal, to hear that you would come to me and prompt me with a bunch of, well, if we're speaking bluntly, bullshit. So as long as you are not bullshitting me, Marshal, I have no reason to take issue with anything. But as long as you don't approach this conversation with the idea that you and I are quarreling for any reason whatsoever.
Oh, no. One of the reasons why I've only come to you now with this situation is that I can't help it because I do not want to impart any sort of pressure on you about how you run the newspaper because I knew you were writing about me. So try to keep things fair for El Paso.
He just kind of nods and says, well, this is go ahead.
After all, I know, besides the Wounded Knight, nothing much interesting happens here, besides some petty crimes and whatnot.
You see that in the background of the office, there's a group of employees, I guess you could call them, who this is this is like a small building, but there's kind of like an upper little wraparound balcony in like the printing press part of it, kind of where they just have a bunch of stairs up to like a little second level where they have boxes stored, and there's a few men up there who have these buckets full of picked daisy flowers and begin just dumping them over the railing in a falling cascade to a few of the reporters down below, some of their artists who are working at the paper to and they're trying to do some kind of they're using reference drawings of trying to make something. Clearly they're doing a very sensational kind of theme going on with these upcoming papers. This is just visible in the background. And so Agatha is kind of framed by that as she says, well, I will of course be sure to publish your statements as earnestly as you presented them here in the paper, Marshal Harrington. As I have said, I am nothing more than a servant of the truth. Now, this matter regarding the bank, however, what actions will the sheriff's department, or even perhaps the Vigilance Committee, be taking to ascertain the whereabouts of these ill-gotten gains?
Well, we have to recruit some of the local citizenry just to get as many eyes as possible on everywhere in El Paso, because frankly, the amount of information, the amount of that has been stolen is far too great to just transport seemingly out of night entirely out of El Paso. It has to have gone somewhere. So we're asking people to volunteer sort of structural data about buildings and whatnots, anything underground. That's
Do you want me to put an ad in the paper advertising this call to action, Marshal Harrington?
I figured that some of the people who work for you could assist in the matter, because I already know that you are working on a story regarding to this, and having people directly on the ground could be helpful.
And duly noted. She just makes some additional notes and she says, before I forget, Marshal, Mr. Graves, Deputy Wainwright, was he shot by a living assailant or a deceased assailant?
Unclear. This description was a shadowy figure, so could be either way. It was a real bullet, however.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't a ghost bullet, as far as we could tell. The bullet was a strike.
She leans forward. Tell me more about a ghost bullet, Marshal Harrington. What is a ghost bullet? Is this a threat the good people of El Paso should be concerned about? I must know more.
I want you to know, at that, Graves looks over at Marshal Harrington and is trying not to laugh because you fucked up so bad. And I've fucked up so bad with this person before. And so I'm just like, thank God it's not me.
Well, there's theories about sort of the expression of how ghosts interact with the world, and sometimes they can use physical objects. So we're pretty certain that the gun was a physical object. Whether used by a living person or a ghost, we're unclear about that. However, sometimes ghosts can manifest their own spectral energy to put into people, and that has a different effect on them.
I see. She just nods as if she, and she just kind of like jots down a few more notes before she looks up at the both of you, gives you a very pleasant but business-like smile. She says, well, this has been a most insightful visit. Will there be anything else I can do for you?
Nope, that's currently all the information that we have right now.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to go speak with some of my reporters about the upcoming stories that we might need to provide some minor revisions to, just to ensure that the truth is being serviced to the most wide interest, of the town. We want to make sure that these stories are not just simply hard-hitting facts. We want to make sure that people are actually reading them. So please feel free to grab yourselves a cup of coffee from our we have a pot that we put on pretty regularly on the hour, and you are welcome to see yourselves out, but do let me know if you need anything else. And she just nods and offers a hand for either of you to shake.
Harrington will shake.
Yeah. And if she insists I will also gloved do so. But I've just been kind of vibing. Like, I'm not trying to. I've had too many encounters with this lovely, lovely woman.
Yeah.
I know better.
Yeah. Gloved. You both shake, and she takes her notes and walks off to another corner of the room. What do you two do?
Sort of as we are leaving, I really do not like to talk to that person whatsoever.
She really has a way about her, doesn't she? It's
Yeah.
she's cunning. I loved your bit about the ghost bullets. That
Mhm.
was
Yeah, so taking some inspiration. So we're trying to maintain where the performance is heading.
interesting. Keep me updated about this performance,
Mhm.
Marshall.
Yeah, so, but from what it seems that her ire, as it were, is a little bit less on you now.
Which I appreciate, though I'm not sure it's any better for you. But I'm sure you can handle it. Also, yeah, does Andrew steal anything?
I don't think so. He did mention a few times that like the newspaper did like really like the Daisy Man is like such a high priority because like the closest other types of like crimes they report on are just really petty and whatnot. So
Oh, I see what you're angling for there. Okay, gotcha. You were indeed engaged in your vice by proxy of talking about the abundance of said vice. I see. I see.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Andrew,
okay.
Andrew knows what crime happens in
Yeah.
El Paso because he partially committed some of it.
He's a ranking percentage of it. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah, I think that counts for the vulnerable move. So you may both clear an appropriate condition as you see fit. Yeah, that makes sense for clearing. Read all about it. That absolutely does, Graves.
I
That
don't
was
think
that was Chaotic's idea.
I don't think I clear marked by the grifter.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
And Andrew, we getting a clue, or are we having Graves ask you about your past?
I think we're gonna get a clue for the
Okay.
Daisy Man.
All right, love to hear it.
I think just as I mentioned earlier, I think that like the newspaper does like get in like reports of like, oh no, that there is like a huge like underground system beneath El Paso.
There is a what?
There's like a bit of like underground tunnels beneath El Paso.
Weird. Okay. That's a very strange clue, but I love to hear it. Go ahead and add it.
Silver mines, Daddy. Silver
Yes,
mines.
the old silver mines. That's fun. Very good. And you see yourselves out. Going back over to Arkansas and Mother Ruth walking through the streets of El Paso. As this is a charitable act, Mother Ruth, you can mark a box on but not forgotten.
Thank you, Daddy.
As you are going about this, never do that again. As we're going about this, you are briefly disturbed by, as you're walking, you just hear some like shouting kind of in the distance, and it gets closer, like stumbling through the morning crowds. There is just some lunatic stripped down to his like shirt and barefooted, stumbling around, just occasionally beating at his chest, just going, "I have managed to synthesize the ghost begone in my body. My very blood is a natural ghost repellent. Come and take my blood, hallowed by scientific processes, into your own veins." Just yelling at people in the street.
The street festival that is the Wounded Knight. Ruth, I'm gonna go. If I was a Daisy Man, I'd take all that money from last night and I would stick it in mannequins shaped like people, and then I would buy them a ticket, one-way ticket to I don't know, Amarillo, and collect my money there. So I'm gonna go check out the stagecoach to make sure nobody is trying to smuggle that money out of El Paso. And then, just hang out there for a while with the fellas.
Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and what mercy he shined upon you, Mr. McGee. But please do so safely. mayhaps keep an eye on to where I am. Make sure that I do not get in any trouble, lest I walk into a valley of sin and death alone.
Where are you going?
I'm going to go check on that man right there that seems to be having an aggressive attack of hysterics.
He seems like he's doing better than most of us. He's done licked the spirits with this ghost be gone. That's good for him. He's safe.
Arkansas, I know not what demons invade your brain and make mealworm out of your gray matter, but I hope, and I pray to the Lord above that one day I may be able to see clarity and vision to help lead you out of this valley of just fog and nonsense into a more cleaner, greener passage, so that you may have a conversation without making mention of human-sized mannequins or anything else that might cause me any duress.
It's probably
Don't
all
you
them deer ticks I picked off of me. All right, then.
Blessed are those infested by the deer ticks or the bear ticks. And then I'm going to go make my way toward this naked man that is clearly having an issue, and people are probably just politely ignoring him. I live in cities, I know.
Yeah, you do know. We've all seen this. It's a nightly occurrence. Indeed, as you split ways from Arkansas, you walk down the street towards this rambling, haggard, frantic man who is just stumbling by, much to the fright of a few onlookers, a few glares, even getting some snickers, as this lunatic is just stumbling around, eyes wide. You can kind of see. Actually, no, I'm gonna defer to the group. So it's like a kind of like a paint the scene thing here. He said that he has like he has synthesized Ghost Begone in his body, like hallowed by scientific processes. What do we think that means? Like, what do we see that shows how this man has clearly had his body messed with in some ways?
Like Bane?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying like tubes. I'm just like how
I will say, to kind of kick this off and everything like that, the veins around extremities and orifices are heightened. So like around the nostrils, the mouth area, the ears, the eyes, around the fingers and the toes and everything, you can see that the veins are more evident. And they have a blue color, but not the blue that your veins, like the purplish blue that your veins are supposed to have, a more light, more concerning blue.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Chaotic.
This guy's sweat is ever so slightly green.
gross.
Oh, that's disgusting.
I think clumps of his hair's falling out.
And I think as he is strutting down the street, he has ripped open that shirt and he has a blade in hand, ready to offer.
Yeah, that sounds pretty immediately dangerous too. He is waving this blade, this knife around, gesturing at his arms as he's yelling at people to come get his blood and put it in their bodies. Like, what do you do, Mother Ruth?
I am going to I think people are like very, very like scared of this person. I think that is very evident to see. But I am going to approach and be like, "Good morning there, gentlemen. Why may I ask what your name is?" Holding my hand up. In my other hand, you can see that there's just my Bible. It's closed. It's held close.
I think that directly approaching a raving lunatic, you know, with a knife in his hand is pretty risky. So I'll make it the day move. What are you afraid of happening here?
I'm afraid that he is going to try to stab me, nick my jugular, things of that nature.
Oh, interesting.
I think, yeah, just bleed and just like I just bleed out, like, and because people are like, Mother Ruth, you know, got shot the other day and she's back up, so she can handle this. She's a tough old bird.
Gotcha. Well, I'll have you roll plus presence. No disadvantage.
Ooh, okay. Okay, Piglet. Perfect. No whammies. No whammies. Okay, that is an 8. That is a 6 plus 2, 8.
Oh, very good. I think the way that you're going to be vulnerable, if you should press on with this approach, is how do I phrase this? This man is like very clearly in a state, and like you're gonna be like with him. You need to be with him for a while. You know, it's like this is like you're gonna be by his side for like several hours. You know, making sure that he is safe. Because like once you've started, you realize, you know, you're not going to be able to like remove yourself from that situation, whether for your own morals or for the sake of his safety. I think that's kind of the how you're kind of opening yourself up here is that if you approach him in this moment.
Yeah, I'm going to approach him, but I'll also go ahead and mark a Mask of the Past, please, to bump that up.
Very good.
I think it's very apropos.
Indeed. So what happens instead? You get to narrate.
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and see with Mother Ruth. Like Mother Ruth, like says, approaches and asks what's his name. And he's just raving, doesn't even say it. And I think in a moment he's like lashing out, and he's like, none of them are gonna get me. You're not gonna get me. You're a ghost too. I've seen you before. You've walked amongst them. You and everything like that. And he tries to nick out with the knife, and Mother Ruth grabs the wrist and brings him in close, and says, "Calm down now, lad. Calm down. There's no need to be acting out like this. What you're having is hyperactivity. I've seen it before." And we see a flash of her holding his wrist and like trying to calm him down. And we see a flashback, that smash cut again to a younger Ruth Calvo. She's wearing that bonnet. She is not wearing the severe dress anymore. She still has an apron on, but it's covered in blood, and her hands are covered in blood. And she's whispering, she's like, "Be not afraid, it's okay. You march on into the gates of heaven. The Lord is awaiting for you." As we see a Union soldier is gripping his stomach, because there is a place where he got bayoneted and it ripped through his side and his guts are out, but he's still alive. And she's sitting there and she's trying to help him back. And she goes, "Antietam will not be your ending. It will not be your ending, but it's your beginning as you walk into the glory and the light of the Lord and everything." And as he expires, he slips away. She goes and does what she can to sew him up to make him look presentable. And then she hears the cry of another, and it's this man trying to get up and rave around, and he's missing a leg. And she deftly and quickly, and you can see there are some of her other flock, the people that came with her from across the ocean from Holland to this place, and they decided to have this charitable act of contributing to the Union Army during their battles and exclusively. And you can see in the background the Battle of Antietam. You can see the cannon smoke firing across, drifting through trees and through open field. And she goes, "I need you to relax now. There's no need for this. There's no need for this calling out. It's okay. It's okay. What is gone cannot be replaced, but what can be replaced is the love and the feeling and the trust you have in the Lord." And like just sitting there and making sure, trying to calm him down and everything. And then we flash back to this moment where she's with this man. And I think we see him like he's focusing on her, and I think we see some clarity in his eyes. And she's like, "Sit with me. Let me know. How can I help you? Where can I get you to?" And they sit and talk.
Good. We'll come back to the scene with Mother Ruth and this lunatic. Arkansas. You headed off to the stagecoach offices, or the offices of the El Paso stagecoach line, which runs the circuit to Las Cruces, to Alamogordo, to Carlsbad, to Pecos, and back to El Paso. There's this wooden porch-like structure abutting the offices, which is used to help travelers actually board the sturdy, tall coaches. The front office itself has an attached loading dock, a back barn where there are stagecoach repairs happening, and a stable for the various teams of horses milling about. Let's paint the scene. The owner is Leon Placido and thinks a showy stagecoach is the mark of success. How has Leon decorated the stagecoaches in his signature style?
I think the first thing you see, like you can see this from afar, are these garish colors, super bright, the brightest you can possibly get with the current technology, painted on the sides, on the fringes. It's bright reds and purples, you know, colors that are associated with royalty, maybe even some gold. Probably not real.
There is a shoulder cape. And for those at home who do not know what a shoulder cape is, it is a cape that hangs thusly over your shoulder, covering your arm essentially and going off to the side. And so whenever he gesticulates with his left hand, the cape is there to flop and to flourish and to also hide and conceal things that do not need to be seen by the public. But if they need to be revealed, there's the cape there. And it has a nice little red velvet with golden tassels hanging from the fringe.
I think every stagecoach on the interior is pretty plush with like velvet seats, and they're all dust covered, but they were nice at one time. But then over the door of the stagecoach, it's got in like a really gilded scripted handwriting. It's got owner operator Leon Placido in like this gilded gold paint.
I think you can smell the stagecoach before you actually see it, which is a very impressive feat with how garish they are. It smells a little bit on the gross side because it smells like that you'd Leon got like a bucket and then started to pour every perfume that he could get his hands on into it, and then doused like the carriage in it.
Arkansas.
It is
oh, go ahead.
flour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Arkansas, as you're approaching this building, you can see that Leon himself is kind of out the front of the offices speaking with a few, soon-to-be travelers. He is from the Mexico side of the river and is currently wearing, as you always have seen him, this large, like brown hat on. Underneath that hat, the man is balding and is very self-conscious about it. So every time he occasionally lifts the hat slightly to wipe sweat from his pate, it's almost like trying to hide people from seeing underneath of it as he affixes the hat firmly back into its place of safety. And you kind of overhear a little fragment of their conversation as you're approaching. He says, next stage heading out in a couple hours, on time though, always on time. That's written on the side of the coach. See, tapping the wooden side, just nodding and speaking, very cordially. And you see a lot of hand gestures as he's being oh yes, going to expand the whole side there, new whole line coming soon. Yes, very good. And just speaking with people as you're approaching the yard. What do you do? You're muted.
I look him straight in the eye and I say, Senor Placido.
Mr. McGee, how can I help you?
Do you still employ that coward Jim McKinley?
Do I still employ? He kind of is very uncomfortable by your immediate hostility. Let me see something real quick. I'm reminding myself of some details.
Is he standing right behind me right now with a gun to my head?
No.
Okay.
No. I had a Mr. McKinley here, but he moved on. Some time ago. He went to work as a ranch hand, and somewhere north of the town. But he hasn't worked for me for some time. No.
Do you often employ cowards?
He kind of furrows his brow and says, I employ people who are capably handed to help keep the stagecoach line on schedule and to ensure that the horses are well tended to and that the siding is painted when it needs to be. But I would not risk the integrity of the El Paso Stagecoach line to hire ne'er-do-wells, people who I would not expect to do their jobs otherwise.
That sounds like a pretty solid business strategy from my perspective.
He just nods in vehement agreement.
Well, say, if you do see that outlaw, Coward Jim McKinley, you let us know let the marshal know, because he's a wanted man.
Yes, understood, Mr. Mr. McGee. Why don't you go ahead and roll, I think, just the information move plus presence, just to see if anything else gets lifted from your conversation here, since you're asking questions. Since you're hungover, I'm going to give you disadvantage because you are very rude.
I do have a +1 to presence with the folks of El Paso.
Oh, you do. That's right.
I have +2 at a disadvantage.
Yes, sir.
I think the lowest 2 is a 6. +2 is a 8.
8. Very good. Okay, I'm going to give you a clue, and I have a complication in mind that can only be described as extremely self-indulgent. So let me consult my list of clues first for the last ride of Blackheart Vermilion, and then I'm going to preface my clue with something, but let's see. Since you were asking about him. Oh, yeah. He does say, he says, I did hear that he was working up at a ranch, but that was some time ago as well. I think there was a gentleman. I think I heard that Jim was working at Neil's as a bouncer, if you maybe to look there.
I've been spending some time there. That's interesting.
Yeah, so that is your clue, is that supposedly, a rumor of Jim McKinley is possibly working as a bouncer at Neil's. Now your complication, I'm gonna make a slight retcon to something I said at the beginning. I think it's not the immediate following day from the previous night phase. I think it's been at least a few to account for the things that have happened since, right? Like the bank got robbed, the bounty hunter moved. So it's been a few days. I want to retcon that. And we see a stagecoach is pulling up into the office line and is disembarking. It's on time. And how do I phrase this? I'm trying to make sure I get, I want to paint this correctly. This interrupts your conversation a bit because Leon goes into action, right? Business owner moving to help disembark. They park up the stagecoach, and there's already a few people kind of anxiously waiting on the fringe near the offices who are now eyeing the stagecoach from across the street, because the rumors were already churning about, are Federals going to show up today? Are people going to arrive about the Daisy Man stuff? And we see that there are, among the stagecoach, someone steps off. It's this a very squat and stout man in a full charcoal 3-piece suit with a red bow tie and a billycock on, and his face is very square jawed, and he has this mean hard look in his eyes, but there's something strange about his face. It looks like there's something about the lower half of his face that doesn't quite look right, and it's because you realize that he's wearing like a wax, or at least some rubber type facial prosthetic strapped to the lower part of his face, as if he suffered some serious facial damage. as he like steps off and like looks around the town with a very hard, angry look. As he scans, kind of clocks you. And this is not a federal agent, but you know this uniform very well. This man works for the Pinkertons. Oh no, I think my Zoom froze. Oh no.
You lose Alex.
No, I'm
God,
back.
Alex got picked up by the Pinkertons.
They heard you say it.
Yeah, as soon as I said that, everything froze for like a second. So yeah.
Is that you opening unopened, unreleased magic cards, Alex? We're gonna get you with the Pinkertons.
I can't believe I'm getting fucking black bagged by Watsy.
Is that you playing a TTRPG other than the award-winning Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, the world's most popular role-playing game?
You see that this man, Arkansas. So this is your complication, the arrival of this figure. As he steps forward off the thing, and he has like a bag that's being lifted from the stagecoach. And like Leon's being very, very generous, very forthcoming, very deferential. To which this man doesn't really answer anything at all. And you can see that like when he like turns underneath his coat, there is like a revolver that is like strapped to his waist slightly that catches like light in the sunlight. And doesn't say anything, just glares, but like he just nods. And Leon, sweating, kind of like lifts his hat to like, wipe some hair away. And just kind of after a moment pauses, "Oh, will there be anything else, sir?" And this man just like stares at him, looks around, looks at you, Arkansas, for a moment before turning back to him and just says, "Where can I find the marshal's office?" And his voice, like it sounds damaged. Like his words come out and it's like slurry. And yeah, you just point. And he just like nods very curtly and begins to stalk off down the street.
I'll tell Senor Pasito that I appreciate the information, and I'm going to help you out today and repay my debt to you for this information and help, fix this part of the stagecoach. Looks a little unhinged, and he's just going to stay there and fraternize with the fellas, the stagecoach workers and the guys changing out the horses. He's not going to be in the way, but he's going to talk to them, and I'm going to activate that move later on.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. After the meeting at the El Paso Times, what are Graves and Harrington thinking about doing?
After we've gotten out of there, I look to Marshal Harrington. So what is your actual plan?
Well, since now we know that there's a little bit of a bigger tunnel network under El Paso, I have a feeling like that the Daisy Man probably used those to escape downwards. You can be faced with their walls, but you can't be ghostly all the time, since we do know that they are a living person. So I think tonight is going to be a very interesting route around in the dark, because that's probably a good moment to transfer all the money outside of El Paso. It's what I would do.
I'm sure it is, Marshal. I think I might go see if we can find some entrances to those tunnels.
Mhm.
Unless you need me to fill in for the deputy. I'm not sure I'd be much help.
Not really. I've gotten what I need from outside of my office. I have a few papers to take a look there, so I really don't need help with that.
All right. Be careful, Marshal. You have a lot of eyes on you.
Yeah.
And Graves just fucking leaves.
Yeah.
Graves just fucking leaves.
Yeah. Harrington is intending to go back to the jail to talk with Del Sol, but
Yeah.
thought so.
You're
I
up.
thought so.
You're approaching the deputy's office. You know, like your office, the marshal's office. You're like walking up the front step, about to like open the front door. When a voice from the side, you hear this voice go, Marshal, I presume. You look over and you see this man that I described previously with Arkansas, this gentleman, very clearly a Pinkerton, with this lower, jaw, mouth, rubber prosthetic. It's very jarring and does not take to the heat quite well. So it's like cracked and like fading slightly. But his eyes, his mean little eyes just glaring at you.
A bit speedier than I thought this was probably going to happen, but probably want to talk to me. Come on in. As I go into the door, office for this gentleman.
Open the door into the office. You walk inside with this gentleman, and in the background we see Del Sol in his cell, kind of like look up, and when he looks at you, and then he looks over at this new arrival, and his eyes glimmer for a moment, and he just lets this like low, slow, and not at all mirthful little chuckle just kind of hollowly wells up from the deeper parts of his chest as he looks at the floor and whistles slightly, as this gentleman sits down without being asked, just sits across from you without the invitation, as he just looks at you and says, "Do you know I am here, Marshal?"
Perhaps on the account of the bank, because there was a robbery recently.
Indeed, the government has seen fit to hire the services of the Pinkerton Agency to handle this matter quite directly. And you can see that, like, even though it's all hidden by this prosthetic of just completely unmoving lips, you see in the way that his like cheeks and his eyes like bunch up and like twist and contort, that he has great difficulty forming certain consonants. And he speaks almost with like a perpetual like slight like hiss. Like his mouth is just like a little too wide. It's just kind of like this like, yeah.
Yes. And I'm perfectly all right with turning this case over to the government, at least higher ups than me. However, I'm unsure you've been sort of made aware about the uniqueness of this case. What do you know about El Paso?
He eyes you for a long while. And then his eyes like flicker up to as if in contemplation for a moment. Let me take a look at something real quick. He says, "I know that this is a quarter. No offense intended. This is a town that many people get away with quite a lot, and I am no stranger to such dealings. I have been told that you are incompetently handling and, well, mishandling this whole affair and losing very important assets. I have been told enough to do my job, but don't mistake my words, Marshal. I do not like being here. I assume almost as much as you don't like having me here.
Hmm.
I
Oh.
hate the American West.
Oh, so you haven't been told. This is fun. Well, see, since you are effectively representative of the federal government, you should know about local ordinances. And I'm going to bring out from probably within like my desk about the additional laws that have been made in response to the Wounded Knight. It's chunkier than expected because half of the pages are blank, because I like to view this as an intimidation factor for people who come in from out of town.
I love this. I have this be the day move. What are you afraid of happening here?
I'm afraid that not only like this guy will think like I'm bullshitting him, he will try to get me removed from office.
I am going to give you disadvantage from Marked by the Grifter only because it combines well with the swirling rumors about the town, and if any information could have been easily found out upon his arrival in town, it is the miasma that hangs around the marshal's head right now with a bunch of salacious rumors. So I'm going to give you disadvantage with but otherwise plus presence.
Yeah, I don't really have anything in my personal quarters. I can't use a razor or a horse right now. God damn it. That is my lowest possible roll for presence. A 5.
Incredible. You try this tactic, right? And he like flipped through it, and he does not have any visible reaction while his eyes are scanning over what you're presenting him with, and they flick up to you, and there is like a moment in those like ruthless eyes of his where the meanness shifts ever so slightly into almost like a malignant mocking glee, like just like a sense of like almost like casual joy about that, as he reaches up to like to remove the facial prosthetic. Hold on. And you can see that his lips are completely gone, like very badly scarred, as if like they like he like I had like his almost like the entire section of his mouth they're like carved away, just barring these teeth. A few of them are definitely fake as well. As he kind of just like looks you in the eye with this horrible scarred expression, and he's like, "I am no stranger to the strange, Marshal. I have had my own encounters. I'll be quite fine. It's your job I would be concerned about." As he like stands up to like grab his hat and put it on, he looks at you and he says, "Oh, where are my honors? Name's Winslow Taggart. I look forward to working with you." As he just sees himself out. And I'm going to give you the condition marked by the Pinkerton.
Perfectly all right. This is too interesting to put on a mask.
Hey, Wes, your expression seems pretty distinct. You want to talk about that for a second? since you're going to be leaving us and won't be able to say the
So
3 stars and
that's
wishes.
the fucker. Okay, so if you watch Critical Failsafe Studios actual play, the Between Monsters business, I played a fucking American by the name of fucking Ross Fontenot,
Who we saw in White Mountain Rescue very briefly in a cameo.
Yeah, who's a weregator. Or like who we later learned is actually a were crocodile. Because he was influenced by a moon god. It does not matter. It does not matter whatsoever because the name of the Pinkerton from that game, Winslow Taggart, we know Taggart, led an assault on Hargrave House, and the Inevitable and the American, Ross Fontenot, fought that like off, and in the process, I ate Winslow Taggart's lips from his mouth, like afterwards. I bit his lips off and ate them right in front of him. And I assumed he was dead, and I should have. I was like, oh yeah, it's the Pinkertons. Okay, there's gonna be a nice little reference to the Pinkerton or something like that. No, it's just the same motherfucker.
I was watching your face and like wondering if you were picking up on the hint. So I very, very glad that it dropped there.
Fucking disgusting. Fucking disgusting behavior, honestly.
We're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to do a couple more scenes to wrap up this day phase before moving into the dusk and the night. Graves, what were you doing again?
I'm going to see if I can find any of those entrances that Marshal Harrington told me about, those entrances into those tunnels, because if they exist, they probably are all over town. Or at least 1 or 2, I have to assume.
Where do we see Graves looking?
I think on it wasn't the last time I had that little incident with the gamblers. Wasn't that Neil's?
That was Neil's.
Oh, that's where I'm looking first.
You're going to Neil's? Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Neil's, much the same as always in the later parts of the afternoon. It is dusty and it is smells of beer and piss and the lingering scent of copper from brain matter that has been scrubbed out of the boards. But you walk inside the building and there is obviously a tension there. Neil, who's already perpetually sweaty, looks over at you and audibly like gulps dryly. There's not many people that are in the establishment at the moment, a couple here and there. A woman in the back corner, tall and blonde, dressed all in black, just kind of giving you a dead eye stare as like over like the top of her glass that she's drinking from as you watch in. But Neil just kind of like wipes the sweat from his brow and just like nods and says, "Evening, Bartholomew. How do you do?"
Doing fine, Neil. How are you doing?
Oh, same as always. Splendid. I hope you're feeling better.
Oh, I'm feeling perfectly fine. How have things been?
Things have been they have been all right. They've been same old, same as always.
No other exciting incidents, no new people.
His eyes like briefly flick to that woman in the corner, but he looks back at you and says, "Nothing worth remarking upon."
I do look over at her for maybe longer than is socially appropriate. And then back to Neil. Really? I feel like this place used to be more lively.
It hangs in the air very uncomfortably. Neil once more just kind of like slightly gulps. This time he tries to like cover up the sound of it at least, but he just says, "Well, I suppose it is a rather tense time, and after all, it's not often that well, there are often fights here. I can admit that, but not often that someone, you know, shakes themselves off their own mortal coil.
No, I don't suppose that's common. Have you seen the other fellow that was with him? You seen him around?
I can't say that I have, not since that afternoon.
Huh.
Yes.
All right.
He just nods and says, I do you mind, if I ask, you see that his like mouth like works as if he's about to call you Bartholomew, but he's about to call you Mr. Graves, and he just gets like stuck between the two of them. He just says, there's a lot of chatter going around town between matters with, well, the Marshal and the Vigilance Committee's inaction in certain regards. I just, there's with this swirl of stories. What was it you said to the man? I saw the two of you lean in close together before he, well, did such an unspeakable act to himself. Did you say something to him? Did he say something to you? I admit, I am damnably curious.
And there's a pause on Graves's end as well, as he considers this question. I didn't say a word to him, but we did meet eyes for a moment, and he didn't say anything, but I think he knew that I knew what he was going to do. It wasn't my place to stop him.
His eyebrows furrow as if he in both confusion and a great deal of discontent. And it just kind of like stuns him into silence, like he doesn't really know how to go on from there.
I'm just gonna take a look around, my friend, and do some Vigilance Committee work. Like you said, they've been slacking, and admittedly, we're a little short-staffed, so I'm gonna see if we can wrap some things up about this Daisy man, if you don't mind.
He just, in a patina of sweat, just shakes his head.
Fabulous. And my idea is to casually like just walk around this place in the like maybe some of those back poker rooms even, and see if there are any entrances that my host doesn't remember or that I've never seen that maybe, or something that seems maybe interesting or odd. Any sort of like fucking trap doors, I guess.
Very okay. Very.
That's what I'm
weird.
looking for. I'm looking for like
Yeah.
see if there's like an entrance inside a place. If that makes any sense. And I might end up talking to the lady if I pass by her and she actually looks at me. But my goal is to look.
Gotcha. To look. This is fun. What door? If you know, you know. Let's see. Yeah, Daniel got it. Let's see. I'm gonna ask you to make the information move. In this case, I think plus. I could either see reason or sensitivity depending on like how you're framing this, because you did say that it's like blank spots and even the host's minds. I don't know. I don't know if that's more, if there's a more supernatural angle to that, but if you think this is mostly just mental, I could see that this is plus reason.
Like my concept was mostly mental, but if you're thinking like non-corporeal doors, if that's on the table,
I wouldn't say it's impossible.
the,
I just think it's certainly it depends on how you are framing it in the fiction, I guess, that will
That's
contextualize
fair.
it from there. Yeah.
like mechanically it would serve me more for sensitivity, but I think it's actually
Okay.
reason.
Then you can roll plus reason.
I was like, I'm not gonna like metagame that one. That is a 7.
A 7. Very good.
7.
Play with the complication. Let's see. Let me take a look at my clues.
Can't be worse than a Pinkerton.
Right? You do see that there is a lot of sawdust kind of like just scattered around, around the floor in this place. And towards the back, they tend like to sweep it away, just since it's not as immediately needed for the sake of spilt beer and drinks towards like the gambling sections. But you do see that there's a trail of this sawdust that just goes like right up to this wall and like stops abruptly. So that is your clue. It's your formal clue.
Interesting.
Your complication is, how do I want to phrase this? I'm going to give you the condition prying. Just you're snooping around and you're digging into things, and
I am.
Yeah.
I'm Snoopy.
You're Snoopy. Snoopy the dog.
The secret real identity of the inevitable.
Arkansas. I know that you said you were talking to people at the Stagecoach line. Can you remind me what you were angling for with that one?
Yeah, I'm trying to activate my fraternize with the fellas.
Yes.
And that's where I spend time with laborers and drifters to pick up. I think I'm gonna throw caution to the wind and pick up gather clue about that coward Jim McKinley, and also gain the trust of a side character that may help you in the future. In this case, Leon Placido.
Oh, cool.
But he will ask for a favor in return. If I ask him for something, he's going to want something from him.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
But I am not going to pick "You do not draw unwanted attention."
Good to know. Okay. So I give you a clue for this, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The last ride of Blackheart Vermilion.
Yes, it is. Very good. Your clue in that case. Let's see what I got here. Because you've been working around the stable hands. I'm just reading through all of your clues here. Before Jim left, he left this job, right? And then he moved on to he did that stuff with the ranch, which obviously Blackheart told you he's been rustling cattle. Now that there's other side rumors that he's been, or at least someone that looks like him has been apparently working occasionally as a bouncer at Neil's. There was a telegraph that arrived for Jim, addressed to the Stagecoach office, but it was like a couple days after he left the job. So clearly it was sent before, so whoever sent this telegraph knew that he was gone, because the telegraph just said El Paso is not safe. You need to get out. So like that arrived at the Stagecoach for him, and it was never, they couldn't properly track him down, so they could never give it to him directly. So that is what you find talking to the people at the stables. And then after this Pinkerton, Mr. Taggart, left the marshal's office, was it still your intention to speak with Del Sol?
Oh, yes.
Very good. I believe you've marked some masks since you last spoken with him.
Not any that would change how since I last spoke with him, because I think last one I marked was the Cosmic Passage.
You didn't have any more Masks of the Past, I think? No?
No, I don't think so.
Gotcha. So after Winslow Taggart leaves your office, in that moment of silence after the door closes, Del Sol times his whistling to end exactly as the door locks into frame, and then his eyes kind of flick up to you with their usual slightly clouded, though still aware kind of gaze. Still very strangely, when you focus on it, his tattoos do seem to shift and change as he just sits against the cot in the cell, and just looks up at you, waiting for you to make the first approach.
there are issues afoot in Seoul, and
Oh,
things need to be resolved quickly.
there are issues afoot on such a scale as I'm sure you have begun to glimpse. There are indeed many things afoot, both at once and in, well, a more distant time. In the shadows, in the light, makes no difference. All things are afoot in one way or another, Marshal. But to what do you speak of?
I speak of the Daisy Man because I don't think that this Pinkerton it will be able to resolve anything.
Oh, yes. That affair with the vault. Great deal of money was taken, as I understand it.
Mhm.
How terrible. This gentleman can be nothing more than a portent of doom.
Yes.
But that's the Pinkertons for you, as at least as I have heard it.
What else have you heard? Because I don't think it's just a coincidence that this one got sent here,
There are
especially
no
one.
there are no coincidences, Marshal. Not at least as I understand them. Everything is, in one way or another, designed. What do I know? I'm just lost in it.
About as much as I am. But perhaps two heads are better than one.
Perhaps indeed. Perhaps indeed. Though the question I often find myself asking in these late hours is whether or not the head is one or multitudinous, and I've simply forgotten which way to look. You know that there are things in your town, things that are hidden in the light of day or in the light of night, depending on how you wish to spin it. And I don't speak just to the ghosts of your wounded knight.
No, no. There's there's a lot that is hidden, and I think that is restricting us from operating properly. I just don't know how to properly step out into the light.
The light can be a dangerous thing if you're not careful, Marshal. It is a blessed singular thing, and it has gone through many trials and tribulations to ensure that it operates within a place of perfect harmony, even if others disagree.
Hmm.
You're singularly fixed on the Daisy Man?
Truth be told, I am not. I'm also concerned with Dr. Clarkson.
Oh, concerned. I see. You know, just because one might do business in the shadows does not mean it does not compare to something that is visible within the light. But I'm not one to judge, Marshal. I am certainly not one to judge.
I think Harrington rolls his eyes at that.
You can go ahead and roll plus sensitivity.
Okay. Let's go as a 10.
Fantastic. You'll get 2 clues. I'm going to give you one for the Daisy Man and one for Ghost Be Gone. Let's see
Oh.
here. Yeah, because you mentioned both.
Okay. Can we get both done in one night? Maybe.
About to find out. Let's see. His fingers begin to to trace the bars of his cell as he says, "Funny thing, cages. They're built for many purposes. Some to keep things from getting out, some to keep things from getting in. I've seen my fair share of cages, many different forms. The cage of a cell such as this one, a bird cage, animal cages like they have in the circus, and more nefarious cages. I don't pay much attention to certain things, as I've mentioned many times before, Marshal. I am lost in it. But in case you missed it, when that wagon came rolling through the town, did you not happen to notice the cage that was hanging off of Dr. Clarkson's wagon? A most strange and beautiful thing indeed, but made from oxidized copper, and even my bleary eyes could tell in that gloomy light that they were marked head to toe with runes. I wonder what that's about. I wonder what use that could be to you. But such runes were only of use to certain people indeed in the farthest reaches of the past. Those runes have not been used in quite some time. As for this Daisy Man business, well, you're in a peculiar little spot, aren't you? Now you've got someone who's arrived on the beat to challenge your domain. You best be acting quickly, Marshal. I'd hate for all that money to go to waste. Let me check something really quickly. I just want to look at the list of clues I've already given for that one. He kind of whistles a low and slow tune before saying, "You know that you remember that story? Or at least there's been several of them. Do you know those stories that tells you that there's always something to the virtue of you cannot take it with you, that the wealth you had in life simply cannot affect the hereafter? Well, that I've heard my fair share of stories is not true. Some people believe that if you are rich enough, you can buy your way back to the land of the living after you're dead. But as to what use death has for gold and goods, I could not begin to speculate. We're not on the best of terms. But I think you and I can agree, money makes this world go round in many interesting ways."
Indeed. And be paid off debts. Still so. It's just
Marshal,
it's an odd thing that you mentioned. Why are you not on good terms with death?
oh, I'm not one to kiss and tell. Devil's in the details, after all. You don't talk about me. But I suppose if you ever did, someone might know a thing or two that you don't.
Hey, that's the tricky part. I can't talk about you.
Indeed, you cannot. Let's just say we've been through a lot. You get on and solve that case, Marshal. Seems like your reputation's on the line.
Indeed, indeed.
You can see yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
I think with that, let's move into the dusk phase. Marshall, will there be an assemblage tonight?
I don't think so. We have too many plans at play.
As I was say, yeah, very good. Let's paint the scene about the wounded knight, and then we're going to talk about if we're going to answer a question. Tonight, we're going to talk about the river of El Paso. The Rio Grande is prone to flood anytime the rain is too heavy. During the season of the Wounded Knight, what subtle signs do the townsfolk look for to know the Rio Grande will flood even if it has not rained in weeks?
I think there's a sound, actually, that is one of the things that it's you can hear it rushing, but it almost sounds like a dirge instead of babbling water. I can almost hear on the wind a funeral march.
They look for like snakes, rattlesnakes, and things coming up out of the river valley up to the bluff where El Paso is.
Despite there being no sign of rain, you could still smell it on the air.
Very good. Do we want to answer any questions tonight, gang? Sounds like yes.
Yes, please.
We have 9 clues available on the Daisy Man and 9 clues available on Ghost Be Gone. Which one? I feel like y'all are gonna answer both.
Yeah.
It sounds like so.
I feel a little bad answering them without Wes here, but yes,
I think
feel
Wes
at
would
least
support
one.
it. With if we're answering 2 questions, what we'll probably end up doing is ending before the night phase even begins. Therefore, the resolution of them will happen with Wes, hopefully, because depending on how long this goes for. Let's take a 5-minute break so y'all can think about potential theories. And when we come back, I would love to hear them. All right. So apparently we have thoughts. So I wanna kick. For what do we have thoughts? What are we starting with?
I think we should start with the Daisy Man.
Okay, so the question being, how are they using the power of the Wounded Knight to become incorporeal? All right, I am all ears.
The first thing we have to understand is who the Daisy Man is, and it's Clarence O'Toole.
Really?
Yes.
You don't say.
Yes, you don't.
Don't say.
Yeah, we don't. So far, Clarence O'Toole has this weird magical gain of a lot of money. As well as there's been several clues being found at O'Neill's where Clarence O'Toole has also been seen. Specifically, how the Daisy Man is doing this is by making the use of some blood magic to transport himself through mirrors. So, whenever he does this, because it's a form of life magic, it creates this ambiance of growth. And because the Daisy Man is such heavily inspired by daisies, it's having daisies grow at the seam wherever this teleportation happens. So you have daisies growing out of the sort of a wanted poster. The daisy pattern on Mercedes was in fact a daisy trying to grow out of her. And we think that the sort of tub of the mirrors that he's been using is in the network of tunnels beneath the town of El Paso.
Yeah, specifically, we think he has.
Okay.
Yeah, we think he has a circular room of mirrors that take him to every different place in El Paso, because maybe one that other people might recognize if they've watched White Mountain Rescue.
Continue.
And what?
Oh, so he made this deal with all this power and knowledge comes from this deal he made with the devil that he's on the run from, or where he's trying to get enough wealth so that he can buy back somebody who died. He wants to bring them back with all this money for the devil. So the sawdust at Neil's, that's actually a door. That's actually a secret door that goes down to where all the mirrors are.
Okay. Yeah, to explain why a guy like Clarence, who mostly gambles in high class establishments, was frequenting a very low class place, is because it happened to contain the entry to his secret hideout. That's fun. I kind of like that. Okay,
But
well
this
that
is
counts for all of them.
it's the deal with the devil and the shadow blood magic is how he's doing it. And then everything else
Gotcha.
is just like kind of like the apparatus and
All
motives.
right. Well, that's 9 clues used, so it'll be a +3 to the roll. Whoever wants to make the roll themselves.
You want to do it chaotic?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do it.
Let's go. That is a 10.
All right. You have unlocked the opportunity. Very good. So you may lay a trap for the Daisy Man and then capture or destroy him. And then you'll get a custom move. Very fun. Love that. Awesome. Well, that's now on the table to pursue going forward. Do you also have a theory for Ghost Begone?
Oh, we do.
All right, which
Mhm.
question are we answering on that one? Is it the 8 complexity?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How
Yes.
can you convince Dr. Clarkson to stop his scheme and work with the committee?
Just making a note that about Clarence O'Toole.
Oh, I
Well-
think we have some pretty cool stuff. Would Andrew Harrington, his new boyfriend, like to go and explain it?
Yes, please. I think the issue is like partially like a moral one, but more importantly, the ghost is just really angry with Dr. Clarkson and is working on its way to like break out of its bindings. Like this is why like Delso mentioned the spectral chains that only appear at night and the spectral key that only appears at night. I think like it's getting clear like that the ghost is getting its hands on the key to unlock its chains to put around Dr. Clarkson in a way to like sort of possess him. Because in actuality, the ghost is the OG Dr. Clarkson.
Right. Makes sense. Okay.
But however, like Dr. Clarkson knows shit all about like what's going on with like all of this because like he has like all this like chemistry kits. He has this sort of hindercorn salve. Like he's trying to use science to make it seem like real and official. And like he has like some real like magical stuff such as like the strain symbols and the cage and oxidized copper. But these are ancient forms of magic, and like he doesn't know how they truly work.
Like amateur occultism.
Yeah. He's like
Yeah.
so in over his head. Like
Yeah.
he's using shit way too powerful for
Yeah.
a mere mortal.
Yeah, and like so far, like a person has already died, and like during that time, like Andrew Harrington was hooking up with Dr. Clarkson, so he couldn't do anything about it.
This is quite
And,
true.
like,
And people
Yeah,
will
so-
continue to die. And I don't think Dr. Clarkson's a bad man who wants people to die. He wants them to be alive so he can have their money.
Yeah.
And they're going to stop buying his stuff when more people start dying.
Yep.
Mhm. However, if we team up properly, we could stop that.
I'm with you. Okay, that accounts for all 9. I want Daniel to make this roll. Dr. Clarkson himself.
The real OG Dr.
The
Clarkson.
real OG Dr. Clarkson. The one who's murdered. The one who's dead. This is
Yeah.
Daniel's ghost that is.
And another, I got 6 plus 3. Was it plus 3?
Yeah.
No, +1.
No, +1.
Oh, plus 1. Oh, 7.
7. Okay. Well, then pursuing it, I will
I know
actually I'll reflect on an unwelcome complication. I have some thoughts, but I'll keep it in my pocket, and we can talk about it when we're all hands on deck. I think we will do is keep this as a leave these questions answered, and then keep the session on the shorter side, and we'll go ahead and move on to stars and wishes, and then do a proper night phase next time.
I'm going to make a note that a 7 was rolled somewhere.
Yes, thank you.
And
All right,
for the other one, it
whoever
was a
wants to go.
10, right?
Yep.
Got some. I've got this is a star for Wes. I really a star for trying to interact with Arkansas McGee And then Arkansas McGee was just not like, it's too early in the morning for these Bible quotes. But also a star for Mother Ruth for taking down the the crazed knife wielding guy. That was a really cool scene. And I hope Wes gets a follow-up scene with that. Star for Alex, shakes themselves of their mortal coil was my favorite quote. And I'm hoping that what door was a Westworld reference. Was it Westworld? Okay, good. That beautiful. And then man, your shoot all your freaking side characters. Leon Placido's a new one, Taggart's a new one, and then I don't think anybody is more formidable than Agatha Edwards in the hands of Alex. I think she's probably one of the most formidable side characters. For chaotic, it seemed to me like Andrew was like ready for the Pinkerton, the Fez, like it seemed like Andrew was ready, and so star for taking the hit there with Taggart, and trying to like should have went with the horse of the razor. And then happy birthday to B. Star for going back to Neil's. You are haunting that place, and it's just a matter of time before somebody's like, please stop coming here. But I liked your it wasn't my place to stop him. You knew he was gonna commit suicide, but Graves is saying it wasn't his place to stop him. And then like Neil didn't know what to do with that. Neil's just like, hey, creeping, yeah. Graves is creeping the place out. Wishes, I would like to see, I don't know if it's possible mechanically, but I would like to see the Del Sols and Graves confrontation at some point, if it can happen.
Samesies. Alex, I expect some information, perhaps at some point for a dramatic encounter.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Please DM me.
I can see Graves and Del Sol making eye contact, and Graves going, "It's you,"
you motherfucker.
Listen, this is a game where I keep the story flexible. I have rigid ideas that I'm like, I am not budging on these, and I am like, they are there in my world, and I am, and this is one of those instances where I'm like, I have locked in on a theory for something, and I'm just like, I have no idea if and when it'll come up, but I'm like, I'm gonna allude to the possibility. I have stuff in mind, so if somehow, I don't know how, because if all I will say on that is if somehow Graves is able to either learn about, see, or anything involving Del Sol, right? If there's any, I will say something, right? There will be a thing I will prompt. But
interesting.
But I will not. Otherwise, I'm fucking tight-lipped on this. Continue. Sorry.
Oh man. Oh my God. Well, this is my new and singular goal now. Is to figure this out. Stars for everyone. Oh my gosh, absolutely fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Since we're talking about Alex, your voice acting for your side characters continues to astound me. It is so vivid. It is so interesting. You do such a good job, especially, I have to say, like with physicality and noting their physical features, incorporating that into your voice. You have so many different people you do that with. And I know that's a hard thing to do, like literally physically, and you do such a fabulous job of it. It's so cool. The Pinkerton guy, I am obsessed. I love this. This is bananas. And yeah, I really, really love all your side characters. I love how you're handling the pacing for this. I love that you've added in new threats that aren't like mechanical threats, but like this dude's just a problem now. He's just here and a problem, and that's very fun. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited to see how this plays out for the Marshal and for everyone, but it seems like mostly the Marshal. Oh my gosh, the Marshal delights me. I love that you did take the L with the Pinkerton. That was a really fun way to do that. I like that you tried to sort of sweet talk the newspaper folks. She is incredibly formidable. I think maybe the most formidable side character, I would agree. A dangerous lady. I always love having scenes with you. I love your scenes with Del Sol. You and Alex bounce off each other so perfectly, and it is delicious every time. It feels scripted in like a TV show. Like it feels like you guys rehearsed this and it's like fucking pitch perfect. So like 10 out of 10 every time. I love it. Oh my gosh. Arkansas McGee, my love, delightful, just the casualness, the way you handled like every crazy thing that happened, but specifically the person in the street offering up their blood and being like, Festival of the Wounded Knight. This is how it is. I've seen this happen before. That's a hilarious reaction, and you always are like the exact right amount of casual with this crazy shit you've seen for years. And also the extra clues you come up with, like blood magic from the shadow blood moon. That what? That's bananas, and I love it. That's like I can like knowing you're the one who wrote this game. This like every new clue, you're like, what if I ramped it up to like 11? I love that. Like you have such a deep knowledge of the lore, and you're like, I can spout off some wild shit and it's gonna work, and it does every time. I love it. And Wes, I know you're not here. I hope you're watching this because always, always, always stars to Mother Ruth's backstory sort of incorporation. The way you incorporate masks into the current action of the game is so perfect and cinematic. It is flawless. The transition from grabbing this man's wrist and it's instantly we're back to the war. That is so cool. That is so slick. And I do love that the way that you're weaving in the pious acts of like my charitable act is waking up Arkansas McGee and making sure he is vaguely presentable. And that is a legitimately charitable act. That's very funny. That absolutely delights me. And then taking time out of an investigation to go stop and talk with this man who's clearly having a problem is so perfect for this character. It's so, so, so perfect. I just adore it. Wishes, I'm excited to see how all of these two resolve. I'm excited for the marshal to have his man on the committee. That's going to be fun, just in general, to have an NPC on the committee. And I'm excited to see how these go. And also, my eye on you, Alex, about Del Sol. I have a goal, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, I'll be very quick with mine just because I wanted to quickly throw out there the scene with Mother Ruth there at the start, getting to do a scene with Arkansas. That was a star for Wes, who was on here, but a star for you as well, Daniel. I really like the rambling nature of Arkansas as always. The way that you just conversationally bring up bullshit is very funny, but also very true to character. It's impressive role playing how you off the cuff just ramble as Arkansas sometimes. I am endlessly entertained. I get a kick out of whenever you use your Tall Tales move to just like create clues, because you always like this has started you as just a player in general with how you trigger moves very seamlessly, and then always I mean like always, I'm pretty sure there's a drinking game in here. You'll do a whole thing for like 3 minutes and then you'll pause and be like, so I'm activating this move. Which is funny, but in general I just love how you always incorporate your moves pretty immediately into scenes to rack up clues for yourselves, and it is both mechanically useful, but also you just do narratively fun stuff. Yeah, Chaotic enjoyed very much the scene between you and Graves, and with Agatha Edwards on the side there. You could really feel the mounting pressure on Harrington's back. And also that scene with Del Sol is endlessly fun to be a scene partner with you. And yeah, hey, creepy as fuck B with Graves going back to Neil's. That was great. Really enjoyed that. Just yeah, I like his theories. It being Clarence O'Toole, it's one of those things where it's like, it's kind of obvious, but it works. And I'm excited to see what's gonna happen with this, because okay, now there are some tunnels we're gonna go into. Wishes, nothing that already hasn't been said.
Yeah, definitely I gotta give a star to Wes for the birthday party description. Oh my god, that was just amazing. Wes like goes like from very funny of like oh thank you daddy to literally just being like just this sort of in-depth like very serious conversation at like a flip of a dime. Just incredible. God, Arkansas is is a mover and shaker. Like when it comes to like uh the last ride of the Blackheart Pavilion. Like he's just like, okay, we're going here, we're going here, I'm making sure that I'm putting other clues towards these other threats through like the stories I've heard, but like I'm hyper focused on this one, and it makes perfect sense that regardless of what Arkansas is doing, like he outputs a lot of clues. Um, Braves, it's just fun to just watch you like be like sitting like in this chair next to me, going, uh-huh, mm-hmm. I don't know what Andrew Harrington is about these ghost bullets, but okay. Uh, so that was a very fun scene. And I also love the sort of the daisies that were falling in the background. I just imagine like some of them fell on Andrew, and he's just like had to like brush them off his shoulders and whatnot. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having new Dr. Clarkson on the team, not being a menace. I'm looking also forward to getting rid of the Days Man. A wish, but less of a wish, but more of a theory. I don't think that the Pinkerton is gonna leave with the Daisy Man. He's gonna be a menace, and I hate him, and we're gonna have to kill him at some point. I'm so sorry, Alex.
Sorry, we're gonna have to kill this guy. I'm sorry.
Should have already happened. You know, he was right there in your office. Del Sol could have got him in like a neck lock by the cells, and then razor.
But yeah, I've theories about Del Sol. I know why Andrew can't speak them, but I won't tell.
I would say that this underground El Paso underground silver mine, that does play into several of the other upcoming threats, possible threats. There's a couple of them that really it ties to that that we kind of do some that chaotic was kind of like some foreshadowing that's going to be cool.
All right, was that everyone? Any other stars or wishes? Okay, then I'll see you guys next time.